Boxing is a ruthless and hard-hitting sport. Literally. As we have shown on this channel time and time again, severe injuries can happen in the ring that can range from awful to life-threatening. In most cases, those who sustain injuries during a fight end up losing. Well, in today's video, we're going to take a look at 10 cases where fighters have suffered some nasty injuries but still managed to win, regardless of how much excruciating pain they were in. Before we get started, why not hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell? That way, you'll never miss a future boxing-related video. Number 10. Arthur Abraham vs. Edison Miranda. During the 4th round of the Arthur Abraham and Edison Miranda fight, Miranda threw a sickening right punch that badly broke Abraham's jaw in 2 places. The break was so severe that the injured boxer struggled to stop the blood in his mouth from gushing out onto the canvas. Miranda was later deducted 2 points in the 5th for an intentional headbutt, something I can only imagine was extremely painful for Abraham, who was trying to fight despite the broken face bones. After the foul, Abraham had to let the blood pour out of his mouth over the ring's edge. Miranda continued his dirty fighting into the 7th, when he had 2 points deducted for low blows, with an additional 1 in the 11th round for the same reason. Ultimately, Arthur Abraham was victorious, despite the bone-breaking challenges he had to overcome. Number 9. Mike Tyson vs. Donovan Ruddock, the second fight. When Donovan Ruddock and Mike Tyson got the chance to fight again, it was a brutal match that resulted in both fighters sustaining injuries. Tyson had gotten off to a strong start in the first round. With only 16 seconds left in the round, Tyson managed to stagger Ruddock with a right hook to the side of the head. After the bell rang, Tyson threw 2 punches at Ruddock, which caused him to respond with a powerful right hook that missed Mike Tyson. Legendary referee Mills Lane gave the 2 fighters a warning and told them not to throw punches after the bell had rung, something which set the rocky precipice for the rest of the match. Ruddock gave a good right that eventually perforated Tyson's eardrum, causing a lot of pain and knocking the champ off balance. Despite the injury though, Tyson still managed to knock Ruddock down in the 2nd and 3rd rounds and ultimately claim the victory. What makes the win even more surprising is that Tyson lost points in the 4th, 9th and 10th rounds for fouls, yet still managed to come out on top through a unanimous decision. Number 8. Charlie Zivich. Charlie Zivich was a professional boxer from 1944 through to 1951. During his career, he won 42 matches, lost 13 times and drew on 4 occasions. What makes Zivich impressive is that he had a metal plate in his right arm through the entirety of his career, which left him with extremely limited motion. He'd sustained the injury when he was only 10 years old, after diving off a 2-story shanty roof. It was when the boxer was signed to fight Bobby Dykes that Zivich complained of feeling extremely tired during his training. He was taken to the Mercy Hospital in Pittsburgh for x-rays, which revealed the fighter had been living with a dead right kidney since the beginning of his career. Confused as to how he would have sustained the injury, it turned out to be a result of an old football injury he suffered during his semi-professional career as a running back. Despite these disadvantages, Zivich still managed to win far more fights than he lost. Do you know any fighters who have had successful careers with such serious underlying ailments? We'd love to know in the comments section below. Number 7. Roy Jones Jr. vs. Felix Trinidad. Roy Jones and Felix Trinidad met in the ring in 2008. In the first round, Jones kept his distance and used jabs to set up power shots with his right hand. Trinidad came at Jones with aggression, using powerful body shots. Jones managed to land his first clean hits in the 3rd round, which seemingly fueled his adrenaline. He launched several blows but was backed into the ropes when Trinidad returned the punches. In a showy and disrespectful way, Jones made faces at Trinidad to tell him that the punches didn't hurt, even tapping himself on the stomach to further taunt him. Although his demeanor was less than impressive in the ring, the way he fought through a painful injury certainly was. 3 months later, Jones had suffered a torn bicep, which had not healed properly and was causing him excruciating pain throughout the entirety of the fight. Number 6. Jose Luis Castillo vs. Floyd Mayweather Jr. Floyd Mayweather Jr. was moving up from the 130-pound division when he fought Jose Luis Castillo. The fight, which took place in the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, had a crowd of 6,920 people. Although Mayweather was favored 4-1 to win, he went into the fight with a major disadvantage. All 3 judges scored Mayweather the winner on points in the first 4 rounds. despite Mayweather complaining of a lot of pain in his left shoulder due to an injury he'd sustained in training a few days before the fight. Due to the injury, Castillo managed to catch up on points with Mayweather in the 6th and 7th rounds by getting closer and landing body and head shots. Referee Ruddock II took a point away from Castillo for hitting on the break in the 8th, which was evened out in the 10th, when Mayweather was deducted a point for using his elbows. Eventually, Mayweather was declared the winner, a decision that greatly upset many fans who believed Castillo won. Regardless of what people think, officially Mayweather won. What makes the achievement more impressive is that it later turned out that the winner had been fighting with a torn rotator cuff and cracked ribs throughout the duration of the fight. Number 5. Tommy Morrison vs. Joe Hipp. On June 27, 1992, Tommy Morrison squared off against Joe Hipp at Bally's Hotel and Casino in Reno, Nevada, in what was an unforgettable fight that had its fair share of injuries sustained to both fighters. The fight, which was televised live on ABC, started out moderately, but saw Morrison bloodied in the 4th after Hipp landed some power hits with an impressive combination of punches. Although Hipp was knocked down in the 5th round, by the 8th and 9th, the underdog managed to come back. It was during the 9th that Morrison managed to unleash a powerful uppercut that stopped Hipp and earned him the victory. The fight is considered one of the most violent in boxing history, as it turned out that Morrison had suffered a broken jaw during the earlier rounds of the fight and had also severely injured his hand. Hipp had also suffered a shattered cheekbone from the uppercut. Though the match caused excruciating pain for both boxers, the impressive perseverance pleased the crowd and showed the intensity and determination of Tommy Morrison. Number 4. Mike Tyson vs. Evander Holyfield. Not many would argue that at the peak of his career, Mike Tyson was unrivaled in the heavyweight division. By the time he fought Evander Holyfield in June 1997, however, Tyson's career was on the decline. In a fight that gave insight into the champ's mental state, Tyson, in front of a sold-out crowd at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, took a bite out of his opponent's ear during the 3rd round. The referee, Mills Lane, could hardly believe it until he was called over to Holyfield's corner to inspect the damage. His initial thoughts were to abandon the fight there and then, but instead, he ordered the judges to deduct 2 points from Tyson's score and let the fight continue. Within seconds, Tyson repeated the same horrific act on the other ear and was promptly disqualified. Though Holyfield won by disqualification, it was a well-deserved win that cost him a chunk of his ear. All hell broke loose after the decision, and the police had to crowd into the ring in an attempt to calm the situation down. The chaos spilled into the hotel lobby and then the streets outside. Do you think Iron Mike should have been disqualified earlier in the fight, or did the referee stop at the right time? Let us know in the comments section below. Number 3. Arturo Gatti vs. Wilson Rodriguez. When Arturo Gatti fought Wilson Rodriguez, it was clear from the start that things were not looking good for Gatti. He was knocked down in the 2nd round and deducted a point for low blows in the 5th. Despite the lost point, Gatti managed to floor Rodriguez with a hook to the body in the last minute of the round. At this point, both of Gatti's eyes were swollen closed and could barely see. Miraculously though, he managed to knock out Rodriguez with a powerful left hook to the head. The strike was so hard that it took Rodriguez over a minute to make his way from the canvas to his corner. Number 2. Hopkins vs. Eccles, the rematch. A year after their first match, Bernard Hopkins defended the IBF Middleweight Championship again against Antoine Eccles in a fight that was filled with fouls. In the opening round, Eccles complains to referee Tony Weeks about Hopkins holding and hitting, then hypocritically hit Hopkins as the referee was breaking them. Hopkins responded with a shot of his own, which resulted in a brawl after the bell was rang. In the 2nd round, Hopkins struck Eccles on the back of the head, which dropped the challenger onto his back. Tired of being held and hit, Eccles picked Hopkins up and body slammed him onto his shoulder in the 6th round, dislocating it. In a moment of pride or foolishness, an angry Hopkins chose to fight on rather than settle for a disqualification win. Eventually, he landed a left hook in the 7th that sent Eccles across the ring. After a fight filled with grabbing, Hopkins eventually lost a point in the 8th round for it. Regardless, he managed to beat Eccles in the 10th with an onslaught of punches that forced the referee to end the fight. Was it brave to fight with a dislocated shoulder, or was it a hot-headed decision that could have caused him more damage and cost him the win? And finally, at number 1, Danny Williams vs. Mark Potter. In 2000, Danny Williams had knocked out 4 fighters before fighting Mark Potter for the Commonwealth title and the vacant British title. Williams managed to knock down Potter in the second round, but things turned sour for the boxer when his right arm was dislocated in the third. Once the round ended, it was popped back into place and Williams continued fighting. Unfortunately though, the damage was already done, and the shoulder popped back out again in the sixth round. Despite the injury that rendered his arm unusable, Williams managed to land a left uppercut to the chin, knocking Potter down. Getting back up before counted out, Potter was dropped 2 more times by William and his left fist, sealing the victory despite having 3 points deducted throughout the fight and being behind on the scoreboards. When Williams' trainer told him that he had to go to the hospital during the fight, the fired-up fighter replied, "Jim, I need just one punch, and I can knock him out." It's this kind of determination, even when the odds are not in their favour, that makes boxing a ferocious sport that is full of heart and passion. And that concludes our list of 10 fighters who went on to win, despite suffering terrible injuries that could have easily led to them losing. Are there any fights that you think belong on this list but didn't make it? We'd love to hear them in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, as well as ringing that notification bell. That way, you'll never miss a future boxing related upload. And as ever, thanks for watching.